Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Women of Faith in Leadership podcast. I truly cannot believe that we are at the 18th of November 2024. This year is very quickly coming to an end, and I look forward to speaking with you on a weekly basis until the end of this year, and then going through it, towards the end of the year, because I was planning ahead. Looking at our plans for 2025. So that is absolutely super crazy. But let's get into today's episode. So, is your organization experiencing high staff turnover with no explanation? Or maybe you suspect you know why there is high staff turnover, but you'd like to be sure. Well, in this episode, I'm going to give you 5 things to review as soon as possible and give you 5 retention strategies that you can implement as well. Okay, let's do it. Leading as a woman is tough, but leading as a woman of faith is next level. However, it doesn't have to be that way. God has called you into this leadership role because He says you are worthy. You are His child, and if He qualifies you, who in this world can unqualify you? You might suffer from imposter syndrome and believe you're not good enough, but God says you are good enough. Hi, I'm Rika, Whelan, Christian leader and workplace culture coach, and together we're going to navigate leadership with faith as our foundation. Let's get started. Grab your coffee or water, keep that notebook and pen handy, and let's jumpstart your leadership. Everybody has their own reasons as to why they leave a company. However, sometimes there's a trend when people are leaving the same company or the same organization for the exact same reason. And so that's why if you are experiencing high staff turnover, even if you're not in this position, maybe these are some recommendations you can make to your human resource manager or to your line manager. It kind of depends on where you are, whether you're middle management or whether you're even the CEO. Delegate these tasks to somebody who can help you with them. But even you can start initiating some of these conversations with either your colleagues or people reporting to you. So when we look at the reasons why there's high staff turnover, now when it comes to high staff turnover, let's be clear, high staff turnover means that there are more people leaving than what's coming in. So there's a gap in the middle. That also means that, you are short-staffed and that you can just not get eligible, good people to come and work for your organization. Now, there's lots of statistics out there. I'm sorry, I did not make the effort to go and pull up those statistics. So I literally, as I was just sitting here, I was like, some statistics would have been nice, but that's okay. I think we need to understand what it means by high staff turnover. And high staff turnover can actually lead to a couple of really bad things in your organization. And so I know this is not the aim of the show, to go through those things, but high staff turnover can really cause reputational damage for your organization because people talk. Remember, people have a right to talk as to why they left an organization. But also, high staff turnover can really leave your organization in a pickle because you have no people to deal with your customers or to do the work, the physical work that needs to be done to run the business. So what to do? So if you are experiencing high staff turnover, one of the biggest strategies that needs to be implemented, and I hear and see at a lot of companies and organizations, this is not it's not a practice that's implemented, which absolutely just blows my mind. But there absolutely needs to be exit interviews. And those exit interviews need to be twofold. Number one, a person needs to be able to write down their experience in a survey. Okay, write down exactly what it is, why they're leaving, what has been their experience in the company. Then they need to be offered the opportunity to sit down with someone to talk to them. And it can be really tricky with these exit interviews to decide, well, is it going to be the line manager? Is it going to be the HR manager? Who's it going to be? But my personal feeling about this, and again, it's a personal opinion and it might be something completely different in your organization, but it needs to be someone that this person feels comfortable with. Because sometimes when we speak to someone that we don't really know all that well, so let's say, for example, if it is an HR manager, because a lot of times this does fall under the human resource banner of having exit interviews. But the problem with that is that the person might not be willing to open up or to speak up because they don't know this person. They don't know where they stand with this person. They don't trust that this person is not going to try and ruin their life by the fact that they're speaking up and speaking truthfully, okay? And the thing with exit interviews that we do have to understand, and I kind of just touched on it, is that people are scared to speak out as to why they are leaving because they're scared of a defamation claim. They're scared that they're going to get in trouble even more. I mean, yes, they're leaving, but the company can refuse to give them a good reference. The company can... if somebody calls and says, hey, what do you have to say about this person, and kind of falls under reference, but they can ruin your reputation if they say, no, definitely don't appoint this person. No, unprofessional, has bad things to say, will have bad things to say about your company when they leave. And so exit interviews are really, really tricky because you need to handle them well, because this is going to be one of your ways that you have to deal with this high staff turnover. So yes, I'm going to go through those 5 things now that I need you to review, but I need us to keep in mind these exit interviews as we talk through all of these points today, because those exit interviews are absolutely crucial. So go and reflect on what exit interviews looks like in your organization. Now, one of the last organizations I left, I had the opportunity to sit with the actual top person in the organization, to the CEO basically, and she had an exit interview with me. Now, I did have an exit interview with my direct line manager, and I was very straightforward with my direct line manager about why I was leaving. But personally, I felt my relationship changed with my line manager after I spoke out. I felt comfortable with that person, and I felt that she would respect me and my opinion as to why I was leaving. But I don't know, personally, she didn't say anything, she didn't do anything, but personally, I felt that my relationship changed with her. And that's okay. I mean, I was leaving anyway, and I've never needed a reference from her, but potentially I might have. And so, again, I maybe I should have had my exit interview with somebody who I felt even more comfortable with. I don't know, and I don't have all the answers. But I felt at peace that I could speak my mind. I felt at peace and I felt comfortable speaking my mind to her. Now, if I had had this exit interview with maybe the HR manager or with somebody else, I probably would not have been that comfortable. Now, the CEO who I had this exit interview with, she was also very new. So she had only been there for 3 months. And so you can imagine I was not as comfortable in my exit interview with her as what I was with my line manager. And my line manager I worked with for years. So I was a bit more reserved. And this is my whole point. I was more reserved because I did not have a good relationship with this person. I didn't have a bad one, but maybe I should rather say I just did not have a relationship with this person. Maybe that's what I should say. So there was one thing, and I was so scared. I was really petrified of being just brutally honest because, again, I didn't know how this was going to end out for me. But there was one thing I felt very strongly about that I needed to bring to their attention, and I did. And I was, like I said, I was petrified. My voice was shaking, and I could feel that even my leg was shaking because I was so nervous. But I did it, and I was so, how happy I was afterwards with myself for doing that, because I didn't leave that company saying nothing. I actually said something to someone, to the person who matters, the person who's at the top. And so when I mentioned this one thing that I felt was in disarray or in discord, she actually said to me, you know what? I've only been here 3 months, but I've noticed that as well. Thank you very much for confirming what my suspicions were, because it's so crucial, and I thank you very much for being honest. And in that moment, I was like, wow, she's only been here 3 months and she's already noticed it. I've been here for many years and people still don't notice it. And so I was actually very sorry that I left and that I didn't have an opportunity to work with her longer. But I mean, what can I do? It was my time to go. I felt very strongly that it was my time to leave the organization and move on. And so, it is just actually goes to show that, speaking my mind made me comfortable. It gave me comfort, but it also confirmed to the CEO, the new CEO, what she was suspecting. So that's the one thing about, exit interviews that I can just wholeheartedly say is so important as well, is that, you might think that the person who you're talking to doesn't know, but maybe they've got a suspicion and they just need to, get that confirmation. And so that's why it's going to be important to get that confirmation and the people in your organization who are leaving, to get them to confirm what's going on. So let's dive into those 5 things that you need to review ASAP when you have high staff turnover. Okay, so the first thing that you need to review is the company's culture, workplace culture or organizational culture. Same thing, different words, okay? So really go and have a look and ask yourself these questions. Is the company culture positive, supportive, and inclusive? And so I've got very many episodes on workplace culture, on organizational culture, on gossip, on relationship building, on this podcast. So please go and have a look and go and listen and go and implement those strategies. And then ask yourself this question: are employees feeling valued and appreciated? And you might think that they are. Your line manager or the CEO might think that they are. But what does the exit interviews say? I did a poll once at work, and we were a team of about 25. And the poll was, how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, I believe it was, or maybe 1 to 5. 5 being really good, 1 being absolutely terrible. How do you think the current company culture is? And literally 25 of the 26 people said a 5, a 4 or a 5, and 1 person said it's a 1. And so, I always wondered, why was it so bad for that 1 person? And so I figured out a way to look which person that actually was. But I never pursued it because I had told them that it's an anonymous survey. Only afterwards that I realized, I can actually see the responses. So I didn't want to do the wrong thing and go up to them and say, hey, I lied about the fact that that you could submit that anonymously. You said it's a 1 out of a 10 or a 5 or whatever it was. Why do you think it's so bad? Anyway, I didn't do that, but I was always extremely curious as to why the culture for her was so bad. Now, needless to say, she didn't actually last very long. We didn't actually renew her contract for other reasons that had nothing to do with company culture. So, but I was always very curious because just remember, everybody's got a different experience. So what does your exit interview say? Now, you can do exit interviews for those people who leave, but the people who are currently there, just remember, they might be thinking about leaving as well. So you might want to do a culture what's the word I'm looking for? A survey or a pulse. There we go. A pulse check with your team ASAP to see where are they at. Tell them it's an anonymous survey because people are more often than not will really give more open and honest opinions if they know their anonymity is ensured or assured. So do that. Ask them, are you thinking about leaving within the next 3 to 12 months, and why? Why? What's going on? Do you feel valued at this company? Do you feel appreciated? What's your opinion on the company culture? Is it positive, supportive, and inclusive? Okay, so then the last question you can ask when it comes to company culture is, are there opportunities for growth and development? Because sometimes there's only some people in the organization who grow and develop. And again, it's a culture thing. Sometimes it's only the leaders who get those opportunities. But what about everybody else? What about those people who want to step into leadership roles, but just because they don't have a leadership qualification or they don't have the leadership title, they don't get to grow and develop? Believe me, I have seen and heard some stories about companies, even Fortune 500 companies, who are just investing in their leaders and not investing in their people. So definitely go and ask those questions. Okay, so that was number 1, company culture. Now, number 2 is leadership. Go and investigate what is the leadership like in your organization, okay? Because everything rises and falls on leadership, okay? I hope that you know that by now. I've said that so many times on the show. That is a John Maxwell quote. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So ask yourself these 3 questions. Are leaders effective and supportive? Okay. And this is a good self-reflection for you, good self-reflection for your leadership team, if you're part of the leadership team, or if you run the leadership team or you're the chair of that, then that's very, very good to ask them. But then come up with a pulse check as well, because people might actually think that they are good leaders, but what do the people say about them? Are they good leaders? Do they experience good leadership in this organization? And then from the leadership perspective is you can get them to praise report or send improvement reports to each other. So I saw you doing this really good thing with your team member, and I just really want to acknowledge you in this leadership team for doing that. And then when they are doing something that's less desirable, we're obviously going to do one-on-one, and we're going to say, hey, the other day when I saw you helping Susie, I saw you getting really frustrated with her and raising your voice. Just remember that that's not the way that we deal with it. What you should have done is then X, Y, and Z, and you have that conversation. But more often than not, things like this don't happen. I'll be honest. Like some of you might have been rolling your eyes just then saying, oh, that will never happen. Because some leaders believe they have got the ultimate power as a leader. And the one thing that every single one of you who join, not every single one of you, that's an over-exaggeration, but let's say about majority, so 70 to 90% of you who joined the Facebook group, the Women of Faith in Leadership Facebook community, says to me that they feel frustrated because it's male-dominated. It's a male-dominated industry, male-dominated organization or company, and the women are still, to this day, seen as not important. And there's pay discrepancy between males and females. And so obviously it's going to be really hard if you feel like that, and especially if the men in the organization are only the ones who get all the growth and development and, are the only ones who get all the opportunities. Then yes, you cannot have this conversation with a male if that's not the culture. So, it's very important that depending on what your leadership culture is as well, what you're going to be able to do and not do. So, I don't want to create a situation for you either at work where you're trying to implement some of the things I say on the show, but then people just laugh at you. So, I also don't want to bring you into a situation like that. So, what I'm saying to you is, okay, look at what other leaders are doing. Identify those things that they are doing. And, the Bible does teach us not to keep record of wrongdoings. But, sometimes I find that in leadership, the only way I could effectively do my job was if I kept record of the wrongdoing. And I laugh about it because it's just so ironic that God puts you into leadership. He entrusts you with this team, and sometimes you've got to do the opposite of what the Bible says. Like I said, the Bible says, "Don't keep record of the wrongdoing." And sometimes I want to do that with my husband. I want to keep record of the wrongdoing so that the next time he says he does replace the toilet paper roll when the toilet paper roll is finished, I can say to him, no, on this day and this day and this day and this day, you did not change the toilet paper roll. And that's just a very silly example now, but I was thinking to myself, oh no, I am definitely going to keep track of this wrongdoing. But no, but as a leader, it's completely different, because when things then does go down south, or something goes wrong with this leader, or there is, this person gets investigated, or you've got suspicion of fraud, or you've got a suspicion of workplace bullying, start keeping record of those things, because when there's an opportunity to bring this to light, you will need that evidence. You will need it. So, this was kind of not the track that I was trying to go on with the show, but it's just something that came to mind when I was talking about those leaders and, females feeling as if they just can't do anything in comparison to men because men are just so much more important in the organization than them. And I will do a separate show on that when I was looking through, what are people saying in the student community or in the Facebook community? What are you guys saying to me? Are the things that you struggle with the most? So I've got a question when you come and join the Facebook community. I've got a question. What do you struggle with the most? And those things that you tell me are the things that I try and focus on in my show. So that's why it's so important. If you have not joined the Facebook community, come and join the Facebook community. Go to womenoffaithinleadership.com or simply go to Facebook and type in Women of Faith in Leadership and it'll come up. Join, add to me, answer those questions. Please answer those questions. Give me your email address. I'm not going to spam you. Believe me, I'm the anti-person of spam, anti-spam. I hate spam. So, and I am a little bit behind at this point in time with my newsletter. I haven't done that in a little while. And that's because I am finishing off my master's degree. So that's another very exciting thing. But I'll share a little bit more about that at the end of the episode. But yeah, so definitely go and, go and join the Facebook group so that I can hear what pains and what things are you struggling with so that I can, that my podcasts can be more for you. That is one of my biggest aims and has been for the whole of 2024 is that my podcast, every single episode I do is an episode that you will listen to and that can actually help you in your work. It's not just another wishy-washy episode or wishy-washy podcast that you're listening to that doesn't give you any strategies whatsoever. That's not my aim. Okay. So a second question, we're talking about leadership and I've digressed completely. We were talking about leadership. The first question was, are leaders effective and supportive? The second question is, do leaders communicate clearly and often? Okay, not just clearly, but also often. Because one thing that really frustrates people is if leaders don't communicate often enough. And then the third question is, do leaders provide constructive feedback and recognition? Okay, so very, very often leaders will either just give one or the other. They will only give constructive feedback and workers see that as negative feedback, or they'll only give recognition, but they won't actually give the constructive feedback. I worked with someone who told me in the 5 years that they worked there, they never, ever received any constructive feedback. And I mean, he actually said to me, I know that I've made mistakes. I know that I've not done my job perfectly. I know that I should have been reprimanded for A, B, and C, but I never was. And that's so frustrating to me. Is my line manager, is my boss just blind? Or do they not even care about me or my job? So yeah, constructive feedback is important, but obviously doing it in the right way, not screaming at a person or, making it negative. It should actually be a really good and positive experience. You can also go and listen to my episodes on the show. Okay. And then the third one that you need to look at or review ASAP is compensation and benefits. Are salaries and benefits competitive? Okay, you need to go and employ a consultancy firm if you need to or a recruitment agency, or you need to go and do the research yourself. But are your salaries and benefits competitive? Is this the reason why people are leaving? Because people will leave for money. They will, 100%. And then are there opportunities for bonuses, promotions, and raises? So in South Africa, we are so lucky. Mostly, I would say nearly every place. Well, not every, because I used to have jobs that didn't do this. But if you've got a permanent job, you would get a 13th check. So you get your 12 checks throughout the year monthly, because we got monthly checks, monthly salaries. And then in December, if you worked for the government, it was your birthday month. But mainly in December, everybody got their salary twice. So you got your salary the 12th month, and then you got a 13th salary, which was like a bonus. So that was also always very nice, because you could always bargain on getting a double salary in December, and that you could go use it to go on holiday or pay off some debt or whatever that might look like. Now, moving to Australia, we don't have anything like that. You do have after 7 years or 10 years, so depending again on which company you work for or organization, you get long service leave. Then that means you get 3 months of paid leave. You still get your full salary, your base salary if you're earning any additional bonuses like commissions and stuff. But so you get your base salary for 3 months, and you get to go and do whatever you want for 3 months. But some companies will also allow you to have the 3 months of leave paid out as a lump sum. But then you get taxed on that, of course. So it just depends on what you have in your organization. Is there opportunities for promotions or raises? And so just go and have a little look and a review of what that looks like and put that question in your survey. Are you leaving because of your salary or because there's no opportunity for bonus, promotions, and raises? And then the fourth thing I'd like to talk to you about is work-life balance. Remember, after COVID, people want work-life balance. People also realize that, I can actually work from home and make this successful. So people are pushing back. They want to have more flexibility in their work. They want to work from home 1 day a week or 2 days a week or 3 days a week or whatever that might look like. Okay. So what opportunities is there to have work-life balance? So the questions are employees able to maintain a healthy work-life balance? Are you pushing them to the edge or to the brim? Expecting them, the contract says they have to work 8 hours a day, but in the meantime, they're actually working 10 to 15 hours a day. So is there opportunities to maintain work-life balance? Can they get to their families? Are they able to, spend sufficient time with their families? And again, it depends. I mean, people who work in the financial sector, when it's end year, you don't see those people. They don't even have a family life at end year end of the financial year, because that's all that they're doing for the end of the financial year is, I don't know exactly all the things. I'm not a financial person and I've never worked in that sector before, but I do have friends who do. So I can't exactly tell you what it is that they do at the end of the year, but there's a lot to do. That is what I definitely know. So I'm not talking about periods like that. I'm talking about, general. And then are there flexible working arrangements available? For families, people with kids, flexible working arrangements is an absolute must, specifically after COVID as well. And then the fifth thing that you need to review is job satisfaction. So are employees satisfied with their roles and responsibilities? Are there opportunities for challenging and meaningful work? So some people don't just want to come to work for a salary. Some people do. I tell you, they will just come and do their bare minimum at work so that they can just pocket the money. But other people actually want to have job satisfaction. My husband and I were just talking about that this morning. Job satisfaction in the work. Should you just go for the money, or should you actually, and what difference can the money make in your life, right? Because if you earn a higher income, what freedoms and what opportunities does that give you, but you're not happy at work? You're actually not happy in the work that you do. Or you are very satisfied in your job, but you earn a very low income. So can't you have both? Be amazing if you can have both, right? So the 5 things were company culture, leadership, compensation and benefits, work-life balance, and then job satisfaction. So you can definitely work questions like that into your exit survey. And so you can get people to, number 1, fill out an exit survey and then have an interview with them as well. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go through some additional questions that you can put in your exit interview. I gave you a lot of questions now to ask yourself, but also things that you can put in there. You can ask questions like, what are the reasons for leaving? What did they like most about their job? What did they dislike most about their job? And what could have been done to prevent them from leaving? Okay. That is a question I answered as well in my exit interview. So a very, very interesting one. Okay. Some things like the job is too far and I'm driving too far to get here. Nothing you can do about that. And that was one of the biggest reasons I left my last organization, is because it was simply too far to drive. I couldn't deal with sitting in traffic for 2 to 3 hours a day any longer. Just couldn't. It was taking too much time from my family. So, yep. Okay. So now I'm going to go through 5 retention strategies. And so these are definitely something that you can implement, even as a middle manager. There are some things that you can do to help your team. Now, I was a middle manager for a very, very long period of time. Okay. But I had to be clever in the things that I did for my team. And, I just had a night out with two girlfriends last weekend, and both of them were from my previous organization where I worked, because we became friends after. And we reminisced about the good old days when we were all there, and how good things were, and how good the culture was, and how good everybody got along. And, obviously there were some people who I had to let go because they just didn't fit into that company culture, or just didn't want to do the right thing. So there are definitely some retention strategies that you can implement, even if the organization isn't all that good. You can make it good for your team. Okay. So number 1 is employee recognition and rewards. Okay. So you can definitely implement some public recognition programs, private thank you notes, performance-based bonuses. Bonus is a bit of a tough one. You can't do that on your own because that'll depend on a budget. That'll depend on the organization. But I made sure that I gave my guys certificates. I mean, certificates is something that you can print and laminate. I gave them at the end of the year. I bought out of my budget, so I budgeted for that every year. I bought them gifts, people who won awards, and then the things that they won were vouchers and bath bombs and bath products and movie tickets and things like that. So that was things that I budgeted for, and then every year I made sure that it's not a monetary value. I mean, it's not that. Unfortunately, I wish I could give them $1,000 or $5,000 bonuses or whatever, but unfortunately, that was just not what it was out of my scope, because I was a middle manager back then. So yeah, you just couldn't do that, unfortunately. But there were a lot of other things I could do. So one thing that I liked on Microsoft Teams, they've got this praise. I think the things, I haven't been on Microsoft Teams now for a while, but there's a thing where you can give, if you go into a chat, you can give somebody praise. And so then you can choose exactly what are you praising them for, and then you can put the text in. So once a month, or maybe once every 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I would actually go in there and I would write a note, a personal note to every single one of my team members in there. And so obviously I had to plan that ahead, or I had to think about what I wanted to say, but I blocked out time in my calendar to do that. And it was great. It was great, and the team appreciated it. And then number 2 is professional development opportunities. So, thinking about what training and development you can offer your team. So I've mentioned this before on the show, but every second month, instead of doing a team meeting, we would actually do a professional development, even if it was just something fun. I mean, one month, we got a person in who came and taught us about worm farms. And we were digging in the dirt with our hands and with the earthworms. And we were setting up a worm farm that we could keep in the office and things like that. So, that was just something fun. Other nights we were talking about there was an incident. And so I got a trainer or a consultant in to come and talk about this specific incident with us and come and debrief us. And, so it was definitely professional development in that sense as well. And then every other month we would talk business, and I would really try and keep the housekeeping to a minimum. We did that on Microsoft Teams, but sometimes the teams just needed to talk about those things. Okay. So tuition reimbursement. So again, it will depend on your budget. What can your budget allow? And then mentorship programs. So we had a leadership team, and when somebody new came in, we assigned somebody from the leadership team to the new team member, so that they knew that was their go-to person if they had any questions, or as part of their onboarding program, they had to get signed off on certain tasks. And so the person who was mentoring them was also the person who signed off on the tasks. Okay, so number 3 is flexible working arrangements. Of course, I already talked about that, giving them opportunities for remote work, flexible hours, or compressed work weeks. So, for example, 9 days a fortnight or 8 days a fortnight, or whatever that might look like. So, before COVID, we were so rigid in our thinking about coming to work and about working from home and things like that. But now it's just so much different. There's a lot that we can do from home. And if we allow our people and change our mindset about it, it can actually create a lot of job satisfaction and keep people for longer, because then they're going to go to a different workplace that doesn't offer them this working arrangements, and then they'll stay. So that's number 3. Number 4, employee engagement initiatives. So as I mentioned before, I'm finishing off my master's degree at the moment. And one of the things that I've learned in my master's degree, because I'm doing my MBA, my Master's of Business Administration, is about employee engagement and the importance that employee engagement has towards retention. Okay. So, team building activities, social events, employee surveys, or, when it comes to employee engagement, leaders engaging with their team, not making their employees feel as if they're a nobody, but making them feel as if they're important and they have a voice in the company as well. And the more engaged, the employee engagement theory actually says, I won't bore you guys with theory, but basically what it says is the more engaged an employee is, the longer they will stay. And so, definitely think about how you can engage your employees more. And, a dead end, I don't want them to feel as if their job is a dead end job. I want them to know that they're coming for a purpose to work every single day. And then the final thing, retention strategy that I'd like to offer is regular check-ins and feedback. So one-on-one meetings, performance reviews, and having an open door policy. So when it comes to one-on-one meetings, my suggestion is when you've got a new person starting, catching up with them 3 weeks after, 6 weeks after, 3 months after, and 6 months after. So the 3 and the 6s, and checking in on them, seeing how are you going? Is there anything that was missing on the onboarding process that you think we need to put in? Or, is whatever you learned on your onboarding process the truth? Is it actually represented? For example, if you tell them about company culture, does that actually, is that actually the truth? That, you said the company culture is so amazing and there's no gossip, but then they get in there and there's a lot of gossip. So meet up with them, ask them, question them, with those one-on-one meetings, and just listen what they have to say. Okay. Performance reviews. Again, I've got an episode on that. Go and have a listen on performance reviews. You've got your annual performance reviews, or you've got your probationary reviews, or, performance management. There's a lot of them. Make sure that you are up to speed with those. People actually value if you care and take the time to do those reviews with them. And then having an open door policy. So open door policy doesn't mean that they can just interrupt you at any point in time. It just means that they know that you are available to chat. So what my team had to do is send me a message on Teams to say, hey, are you available? I'd like to chat with you. Then I would say, look, I'm just busy for the next 10 minutes, or I'm still in a meeting. I'll let you know as soon as I'm done, then you can come. So that is what my open door policy looked like. The other option is that they could book a meeting with me. So they could just email me, I would book a meeting, put it in our calendars, and then that's it. Bob's your uncle. Alternatively, they could come up to my office and see if my door was open. If my door was open, they were allowed to pop in, knock and pop in. If my door was closed, then they know that I was busy. So, that was my open door policy, and it did actually work. A lot of people felt, and there were 1 or 2 people who said, but I always come up and then your door's always closed. And my response is, well, did you send me a Teams message? Or did you email me to make an appointment? Because yes, you might have been here 5 times today, and then it was closed all the time, but send the message, then I know that you're looking for me. Because in the meantime, the door has been open, but you've just not been here. So make the expectations clear. So super long episode, but I hope that it was valuable to you to think about retention. And then I just quickly mentioned that I will tell you about my MBA. I'm finishing in 2 weeks and 3 days. Yippee! I'm submitting my final research paper for my Master's of Business Administration. And guess what my topic is on? Retention. So yes, it is literally on human resources is my overarching topic. And then my subtopic is retention of staff. So I'm doing research on retention of staff at the moment, and using lots of secondary data to determine why people are leaving. What are the most common reasons why people are leaving, and what can businesses do about that? So that is a very exciting and lovely topic to talk about. I love anything human resources. So I love leadership, love human resources, and hence the reason why I love this show so much and to share these tips and strategies and so with you. So please come and join the Facebook community. I really look forward to seeing and meeting you all in there. And I know there's still a couple of you who haven't joined, because I can see how many people listen to the show on a regular basis. And that's not the number of people in the show, in the Facebook community. So if you've got something against Facebook, you're not on Facebook at all, please let me know. Maybe I'll consider opening up a community somewhere else. But Facebook is mainly where we are at. Even if you just download Facebook and create an account just for that reason, and you don't do anything else on Facebook, that would be amazing. That link is womenoffaithinleadership.com, or go to Facebook and search Women of Faith in Leadership Community. Okay, well, I look forward to sharing with you the next episode. I've got a couple of amazing episodes coming up. I've planned the rest of the year is all planned out. I've got 8 weeks of school holidays coming up with my kids between December and January, so I've had to plan ahead. So I can just get my ducks in a row before 8-week school holiday with my kids at home. So that's going to be fun. And then I'll be finishing off my MBA on the 5th of December. So really looking forward to that as well. And I'll be graduating and flying to Sydney next year. So that's very, very exciting. Okay, well, I'll love and leave you. And I hope that you have a blessed week. And I'll speak to you again next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If this podcast blessed you in some way, the number one way you can thank me is by leaving a review. Your feedback means the world to me and lights me up every single time when I read it. And it makes me want to keep going. So please leave a review, and your review will also help other Christian women in leadership find the answers they are looking for. So whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the review section and leave that review. Then head over to womenoffaithinleadership.com and join our free Facebook community, and I look forward to engaging with you there.